So even though we're in the era of multitasking and cell phones and iPods and all of that, basically we haven't changed very much. We get totally carried away, our own little universes, our own dream worlds. And we get lost, and then the papancha leads to what is called in Pali papancha sanya sankhar, which is the multiplicity of feelings and perceptions that beset the heart. Papancha sanya sankhar. And that's how we end up feeling me oppressed by the world. That's the papancha sanya sankhar. That at the end of that chain of causation from what was initially totally simple, just feeling, perceiving. Started off totally simple, and then we end up in this me pressurized by the world and all the stuff I have to do and all the information I have to process in a day, all the things I'm responsible for, the pressure. And so, part of our mind can say, yeah, but it is different. They've done tests. That it's said that we have to process 18,000 times as much information in a single day than someone would have had to do in a similar situation 100 years ago. It is worse. Well, yes and no, I'd say, because the one of the great blessings, or the sweetness, the kind of sweetness of the morsel, is that regardless of the pressure and the multiplicity of things that we experience, it all really comes from the same place. And that the more that we meditate, the more we really develop the faculties of focusing the mind, paying attention to the present moment. We learn to not be confused by thoughts and feelings, emotions. Then the more simple it remains. So we kind of find ourselves out in the realm of pressure, and so that we feel the need to get to some sort of simplicity. But the fact is that it's actually simple right now. It's always perfectly simple. But the habit, the rut is so deep, whereby we go from the contact to the feeling to the perception, the thinking, the papancha, conceptual proliferation, and then the whole bewildering array of pressurizing feelings. The rut is so deep and kind of sloping. we kind of fall into it and slide down, without before a blink has passed. So we don't realize that there's a choice in every moment. But the more we develop this kind of practice, the more mindfulness we develop, then the more we're able to make those choices. So rather than just at the moment of contact, then suddenly we're out in the papancha sanya sankhar minefield. We slowly kind of fill the rut in, if you like, and they catch the process earlier and earlier on. And so part of the blessings of an environment like this and a retreat is that we get to see how that process works. We hear a sound, and then we see the mind going off and starting to proliferate about it. And then no, what happened there? Now, I'm already thinking, who's that guy who drives past honking his horn? So I've made a story. Ajahn Amaro mentioned that. I didn't notice it before. Now I notice it. Who is that guy? Why does he do that? Okay, now where did that begin? I heard the sound. There was the sense contact, there was a hearing, it was a raucous noise. So I labeled it car horn. Then there was the thought, it's that guy who keeps honking his horn. Then the papancha began. Okay, that's how it began. It was just a sound, then there was a feeling, then there was a naming, thinking. Now here I am, wanting to contact the local police, to get out on the road and get a photograph of the number plate. Punish that villain. Yeah. That's how I got to that point. Aha. So in a benign and simple situation like this, we can get used to how those processes work. And the more we are able to get used to it, the more we can track it. Then we find that earlier and earlier on, we can we can catch it. We can notice what's going on. And we can, first of all, witness those habits, and then the more they're witnessed, the more they're known and watched, and the less power they have to kind of run away under their own steam. Ignorance, not seeing clearly, is the key element to getting lost and alienated and pressurized in the world. The more wisdom and awareness there is, then the harder it is to get lost. It's a very simple relationship. So this is a really useful exercise to do whenever you do find yourself caught up or getting lost in trains of thought, to make that effort to trace it back, to go to follow it back to its source. And then as we are developing the meditation, sitting and walking and moving around, being here, just seeing the habits of how quickly the mind lurches into making presumptions or making judgments. And then as you see the mind doing that, say, wait a minute, it's just the sight of a face in a doorway. It's just someone smiling at me. That was all. I saw a face, there was a smile, it felt good. It doesn't mean to say that this is the one true love who I've been waiting for all my life. It means there's a guy in the doorway. They're friendly people, these are Buddhists, they smile. This may be the one true love I've been waiting for all my life, or not. But what I know is there was a face in the doorway, there was a smile. That's it. Being smiled at feels good. Pleasant feeling. How spacious, how simple. Suddenly there's a lot more room in life. Another way also of working with the same, or a similar kind of process, or the chain of causation that the Buddha talked about that's related, is very similar in talking about how we end up with a feeling of alienation or dukkha, suffering. And this is a slightly different pattern that is described and then known as dependent origination, the cycle of dependent origination. It sounds a little bit grandiose. Some of you are very familiar with this, some of you not. But what it's describing is how we get addicted to things, how we get caught up in the same old cycles of behavior, thinking, around and around and around. We get caught into habit patterns. So in Buddhist psychology, this is called the cycle of becoming, or the bhava chakra. In the more modern day parlance, you call it a cycle of addiction, but it's the same thing. And how we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. So similarly, it starts off, well, you can start in different places, but probably the easiest place to start off talking about it is, again, in the realm of contact. So contact is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. Contact gives rise to a feeling, pleasant, painful, neutral feeling, very simple. Because we have the six senses, there's contact gives rise to feeling. So feeling is very, very simple, isn't it? I like, I don't like, or neutral. Then there's a bridge that's crossed, if you like. Because if we perceive something that we like, something that is attractive, then going from pleasant, oh, that's nice, I like that, we cross the bridge to I want. Or if it's something that we dislike, it's like, I want to get rid of, I hate. So this is called craving. So feeling, the feeling of like or dislike, this is very neutral and spacious quality. There's no there's no innate constriction or cramping or limitation of the heart in the realm of feeling. And as I was saying earlier today about a painful feeling, even with very uncomfortable feelings, you can be utterly equanimous, completely at peace with painful feelings. Similarly with very blissful and beautiful feelings. We can have the most beautiful, delightful feelings and not get intoxicated with them, without getting drunk on them. We can appreciate them and not get lost in them. There can be great peace, even with very, very ultra-pleasant feelings. But the bridge is crossed as we sort of lose our mindfulness or lose clarity. And then if it's something beautiful and likable, then I want. Craving arises. And then craving leads to clinging. Like, not only do I want, I gotta have. So we commit ourselves to going after that particular thing, that particular object, that desire. We decide to follow that desire. And this is what we call becoming, bhava in Buddhist terminology. Becoming, like you decided that those smells from the kitchen are just too attractive. I know we're on 8 precepts, but the staff, I guess, are having dinner, and that smells really good. And maybe they won't know I'm a yogi. I could kind of pretend I'm actually a staff member, just sort of happening to drift through, and it does smell really good. And that, well, I'm hungry. I'm kind of feeling a little dizzy. I'm sure I ought to have something. This craving leads to clinging. Clinging leads to... Then becoming is, right, I'm going for it. So then becoming is that the decisive moment where you stride into the kitchen and the cook turns around and says, "Oh, hello, could you taste this for me?" So becoming, this is the moment of thrill. In fact, this is what I like to point out. This is, even from the time of the Buddha, he pointed out, this was the kind of strongest moment of delusion, or the kind of the high point of delusion in the cycle. And even when you nowadays with lots of laboratory testing, they find this is exactly the same things. That this is the moment of what they call maximum dopamine release in the brain, the pleasure center of the brain. There's this little patch of the brain called the lateral tegmentum. And when you get really excited about something, and you're just about to, you're going to get what you want, then the lateral tegmentum gets really, really busy and sprays out huge amounts of dopamine. And when the dopamine hits the pleasure center of the brain, you are really, really happy. That's what the whole kind of pursuit of pleasure is about, dopamine. And I don't know whether the dope of dopamine is deliberate, but it means you're a dope, or you're being deluded by the dope. But that's what happens. And then the pleasure center of the brain says, "Yes, this is so good. I love it." That's the "I love it." That's actually just chemicals going off in the brain. What? How could you say that? These are my obsessions you're talking about. You can't be so glib. Bloody English guy coming in, treading all over my precious obsessions. But yeah, that's the chemistry of it. That's how we feel pleasure. Is that the dopamine gets released, hits its receptors, and zzz, happy, happy, happy. That's the moment of maximum thrill, comes just before we get what we want. So you know you're going to get it, but you haven't quite got it yet. And they've done many tests to register this. But it's when you've already kind of handed over your credit card and you're just about to get the new thing, your new camera or your new car or your new computer. Yes. Yeah. Your new relationship. Well, not with a credit card, but when the person has said yes to your invitation, or you've kind of gone to the new monastery, finally got ordination at last. Yes, hooray! I'm a monk at last. But then, as people know, the wedding is only one bit, and the marriage is the other. Or acquiring the new computer is one thing, and then all the glitches you have to live with as the next bit. And then you have to deal with the bill that needs to be paid. And so then the maximum thrill and the fulfillment is just before you get what you want. Then you know you're going to... And then the cook gives you the soup, and you think, oh, this is great. So you're sitting there with your cup full of soup, and you think, oh, right, this is great. Then Taranir walks into the kitchen. Ah! This is called Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa. We chanted this the last couple of mornings. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair are dukkha. You don't necessarily feel all of them when she walks in. Oh God, caught in the act. She knows. Yeah, and so, I mean, we can insert any one of our own particular scenarios in here, but it's that feeling. It's like the result of what we've just committed ourselves to. And it can be something totally innocent. But just having to live through the karma. Okay, you acquire a new camera or a laptop or a car or just a simple object, and then you have to live with it. And then all of the way you inflated how marvelous it was going to be when you had it, then you have to deal with all of the complications of owning it and protecting it, and then people being jealous of you. Oh, you got one of those, have you? Oh, very nice. Phew, well, it's all right for some. Not everyone can afford one of those. Then you realize this beautiful new thing that you have is a painful reminder for somebody else of how poor they are. And it's displaying your own wealth, or how you got money to throw around. Oh, didn't realize I was going to do that. Didn't realize I was going to be causing others harm by me relishing this thing or following this thing. Oh, look at that. So any one of the 10,000, hundreds of thousands of different ways, when we've bought into a condition, even in our own body, when we kind of might be young and strong and vigorous, and, yeah, great. I don't know what this kind of meditations on the body are about. I mean, it's fine. It's old age, sickness and death. Well, yeah, okay, I can think about that, but, it's not that big of a deal. When you're 25, it's not. But as the years tick by, and then, this bit doesn't work and that bit doesn't work. I can't even remember what that one used to do. That's off the map for so long. Yeah. It all starts to get more and more real. This body that seemed to be so, everything works and does what you want it to, and it's all painless and cheerful, and then we invest in it and we identify with it, and then as it ages and stops working and starts to get sort of saggy and wrinkly and bits don't work anymore and drop off in various ways, then the degree to which we've invested in it and identified with it is exactly the degree to which we'll be miserable, as it's like, gee, who's that guy looking out of the mirror at me in the morning? This haggard old rabbi. Oh, it's me. So it's not kind of saying there's anything wrong or bad about that, but just that's what we live through. We experience the downside, not only with the spring and the arising, the kind of upswing, the bright part of the cycle. We get the dark and painful and degenerating part of the cycle too. You can't just get one side of the coin. Yeah, if you get the coin, you get both. It's the way nature works. So, if you think if you're really clever, you might think you can just get the upswing and not be there for the downswing. Just hang on to the wheel as it's swinging upwards, and then you hop off when it gets to the top. Well, that takes some pretty clever maneuvering, and we can do that some of the time, but it's impossible for us to do it all the time. So, what happens when we are then dealing with the downside, when the relationship goes sour, when you're bored with the monastery, thinking about Savitri and the other in the next village, and planning your goat herd and your flock of goats, and it's all kind of gone sour and uncomfortable and difficult, and your laptop's malfunctioning, and your earpieces don't work, and your beloved is saying that goddamn awful joke again. Doesn't he know I've heard that 8,543 times? And those charming, endearing little quirks have become utterly infuriating, unbearable. That's Sokaparideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa. And so, if we're wise, then we know, oh look, this is the natural consequence. I bought into that youth and beauty, and now here's aging and degeneration. So I'm still invested in the same company. It was all went with the package. So that's what I invested in before. Now this is what it's like. Because of A, therefore B. Aha. No big surprise. If we're wise, we see that, and then that causes us to then not be so entangled, to let go and detach. If we're unwise, then we just get caught in that disappointment. Oh, damn, well, maybe I just didn't get a good enough. I need the better, the new iPod that's just coming out, or the new camera, or the new partner, the new degree course. I mean, how many of you have just gone back to college again? Well, I'm not being accusatory. I'm just kind of curious, this is. Well, I think it'd be interesting to do another degree course, or move town, or change my hair, or go into the monastery. Yeah. And so sometimes these moves and changes that we make, they can seem reasonable or worthwhile or totally innocent at one level, but underneath it can be because we don't want to cope with disappointment, loneliness, alienation, failure, loss, degeneration. Just even the words are depressing, aren't they? We don't want to be with them, so move town, get a hairdo, paint your nails. Terania was having a moral dilemma about, she had a very wonderful toenail job just before this retreat, and she was in a moral dilemma about the 8th precept, the 7th precept about whether she should unpaint her toenails or not. So I left it to her to decide. But, she puts on socks. See, this is the middle way. This is wisdom at work. I noticed that, actually. So, if we're unwise, we just go for the next hit. Okay, well, that didn't work out. That job didn't work out. That relationship didn't work out. That hair color didn't work out. The monastery didn't work out. The goat flock didn't work out. Savitri's getting really tiresome. Yeah. Maybe I'll try Arjun. So we just go to the next one. Yeah, this is great. Now this is it. New town, new career, new face, new job, new name, new teacher. I'll go to the monastic retreat. Yes! Get some devotion into my life. That's what I need. Something new, something different. And so, whoosh, up springtime comes, and we're there on the upswing. Yeah, great, this is marvelous. And then, as it turns and it gets a bit old, and you've heard those Ajahn Amaro's jokes 843,000 times. Oh God, same old thing. Yo so arahang sama. Oh God. Not that again. Sokaparideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa. So round and around we go. This is the cycle of addiction, the cycle of compulsive identification. Being born again, born into a hope and then left with disappointment, born into an enthusiasm and left with despair. And there's not being nihilistic, this is just how it functions. So then the Buddha again pointed to different ways that we can work with this. And as I just mentioning, if you hit the Sokaparideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa patch, then, even when we're right in the middle of suffering, the Buddha pointed out, there's suffering can ripen in two ways. Either in further suffering, you keep going round the wheel, or it can ripen in search. And search means that in us which says, there's got to be a way out of this. I don't have to be stuck on booze or cigarettes or relationships or meditation techniques or the latest guru. There must be a way to transcend this. That's faith arises. There's got to be a way out. And then that leads to the development of concentration and insight and eventually liberation. But you can catch it earlier down the cycle, just as I was describing with the papancha process. If we catch it down at the realm of perception and feeling, just at the in that instance, it was at the sanya, the contact, passa, vedana, sanya, vitaka. You catch it down there, then you can stop it before it launches. So in the cycle of dependent origination, what's talked about as the weak link is that between feeling and craving. Feeling is like standing on the platform. Craving is you climbed on the train and the train has started moving. If you try and get out at the level of clinging, then the train's moving but it hasn't left the station yet. You try to get out at becoming, and you're already out of the station and under full steam. So if you hop off, then you're going to get really tangled up, mashed up on the tracks. But to break the cycle between feeling and craving, it's like, I really like that. That's beautiful. Yes, I like it, but I don't have to have it. That's so awful. That's really ugly. Yes, but I don't have to destroy it, hate it. It's really ugly, repulsive. There it is. Some things in life are like that. Which doesn't mean to say that we're totally passive, or just sort of turning ourselves into a sort of inert putty, or doing the potato meditation, taking that a bit too seriously. Sort of the zafu potato rather than the couch potato. Yes. Feeling. We can. It doesn't mean that we're unresponsive to life, but we're learning how to be non-reactive. To be non-responsive means we're kind of unconscious or dead to the world. But it's not trying to be unresponsive or not taking initiative or acting in life, but it's more to do with not reacting blindly, so that I want. And we immediately pursue, wow, it's beautiful, I've got to have it, more of that's great. And we're just swept up by the promise of an object or a thought or a feeling or a mood, or similarly aversive. That's terrible, that's bad, get rid of it, we should hate that. That's reactivity. To respond is, well, I really like that. Now, does that belong to somebody else? Or is it appropriate? Can I afford it? Do I really need it? Let's feel that out. Well, it's beautiful, and it's lovely, and I would like to have it, but it's too expensive. Okay? If more money comes along, fine. If it doesn't, well, fine too. So you're not suppressing desire, you're not suppressing the fact that you like things or dislike things, but you're no longer being dragged around by that. So there's a response, and the way to relating to the world is coming from an environment of wisdom and mindfulness. It's informing the senses, informing the realm of like, dislike, and neutral feeling. So then, if there's something that we can do, or something to acquire and get, and that's appropriate, fine, we go out and do it, and get it, and have it, and enjoy it. But if there's nothing to do, or nothing to get, or there's no need to follow that, then we can leave it alone. And nothing is missing. There's no gap in our life because we didn't pursue that object. Similarly, there's no imposition in our life if there's something painful or difficult that we can't get rid of. Okay, here it is. No need to argue with it or contend against it. Like Dandapani in the forest. The Buddha saying, I practice the path of non-contention with anyone or anything. So this is one of the most beautiful and precious results of practicing Dhamma and developing the meditation. Learning to recognize that bridge, the crossing point between feeling and craving, Vedana and Tanha. And that's the place where we have a choice. To learn we have a choice there. And to train the heart to make that choice. And to learn how to leave things alone. And then we see for ourselves how much more spacious and beautiful life is. How easeful life can be with the presence of the liked and the disliked and the whole array. We find we can really be